All right, let's talk about the IIA criterion. So this says if one person wins the election and a different candidate drops out, then the original candidate should still win the election. That makes sense, right? If you win the election and your opponent who already lost dropped out, you would think that you would still win the election. That makes total sense. So here's our question. Suppose the winner is to be chosen by a sequential runoff method, and I will tell you that this is what it's going to be on your test and your final. I'm not going to mix this one up. It's always going to be sequential runoff. Here's the question. Before the election results can be validated, the supporters for Aeropostale, sensing defeat, withdraw that store from the contest. So A is dropping out. Would this violate the IIA criterion for fairness? So what we need to do is two things. The first is find the winner of the sequential runoff. And then we need to also find the winner of the sequential runoff method, but when A has dropped out. But let's just do it first, just the normal sequential runoff method. So remember, we're comparing first place wins. Okay, how many first places does C have? Looks like 6. A has 5 plus 3 is 8. B has 7. And D has none. Sucker! All right, so we're going to cross off D because D has the least number of first place votes. And you can see here that that's not going to mess up any of our first places from the previous count. So now we can still say, okay, compare these. Oh, we can cross off C. So now C has the fewest number of first place votes, so we're going to get rid of C. All right, so now this is really just A versus B because we've already canceled out C and D. Well, B wins first place here and first place here. So 6 plus 7 is 13. And then we have A wins here and A wins here. That is 8. So it looks like A cancels out and B wins this. All right, so now our question is, what about if Aeropostale drops out? And then we do the sequential runoff method. So on this particular case, you have to say that A has dropped out. So at the very beginning, we drop out A. A is gone. And now we're just going to do the sequential runoff method starting from this. Okay, so let's do that. So we have to count the number of first place wins from C, B, and D. Okay, C has 6 here and 5 first place votes here. So that is a total of 11. B actually wins this and this, so that would be 7 plus 3 is 10. And look at D. D hasn't won any first places, so D's at 0. So I can cross off D. And that actually, again, does not impact my first places. It's still going to be C winning this one, B winning this one, B winning this one, and C winning that. So we still have these counts, so I'm going to eliminate B, and you can see that C wins. That's a problem, right? Because here, B wins, but when A dropped out, C wins. So that is a violation. So we would say, yes, there is a violation. B wins sequential runoff, but when A drops out, C wins sequential runoff. So that's why there's a violation, because they do not match. Let's do one more. Does the sequential runoff method violate the IIA criterion if S drops out? Well, again, let's just find the winner of the sequential runoff method. Remember, we're looking at first places. We've got R versus H versus F versus O versus S. We've got 49 wins for R, 48 for H, 3 for F, 0 for O, and 0 for S. So we can drop out 0 and S. Or not 0, excuse me, O. And you can see that does not impact my first places, so we still have this count right here, which means we can eliminate F. So let's do that, eliminating F. Okay. Now let me circle my first places. R wins this one, H wins this one, and H wins that. So R versus H. R gets 49, and H gets 48 and 3, which is 51. So R gets eliminated, and H wins. Okay, but what if S drops out? Is that going to impact this at all? Let's see. I am going to eliminate this S. Okay, we're going to compete R versus H versus F in terms of first place finishes. We have R, H, and F. So R gets 49 first places, H gets 48, and F gets 3. So we're eliminating F. Okay, now let me circle my first places. I've got, this is the first place, that's the first place, that's the first place. And we've got R versus H. R gets 49, and then H gets both of these, which is a 51. R gets eliminated, and so H wins. Now look at this. We have a match. H wins, H wins. And so does the sequential runoff violate the IIA criterion if S drops out? No, because H wins in both cases. And that's it. Okay, so make sure you do the sequential runoff first. Then you have to do the sequential runoff again, but after you've crossed out one of the letters that it indicates there. That's it. Thanks for watching.